Hello everyone and welcome back to the Full-Time Podcast. It is the time for Premier League predictions and I'm so excited about this new season. It's going to be an amazing season. Here are my predictions for the Premier League season 24-25. Starting off in 20th place, I've gone with Ipswich. They have an amazing manager. They were absolutely amazing in the Championship. And to be fair, they've kept most of their squad this transfer window. But I just think that it's a step too far to stay up. I think they're going to get relegated. And I've put them rock bottom just because they don't have the experience that some of the teams that I'm going to put above them have. And in order to at least stay up, you need to win at least 9 or 10 games, and I just think that's too much for Ipswich at the moment. They were capable of doing that in the Championship, but the Premier League's a completely different game. And coming up, I just think they'll be like a Luton. They'll have some amazing games. Don't get me wrong, at Portman Road there'll be some very good night games there, and that's going to be really good to watch those Ipswich games. I just think they haven't got the experience in the Premier League that the other promoted teams do, like Southampton and Leicester. And I just think it's a step too far, so I will be putting them rock bottom just because of the teams around them. I'm sorry, Ipswich, but I'm going to say you're 20th place. In 19th, it's another newly promoted team. I've gone with Southampton. They've come up from the playoffs, and I think they're going to get relegated as well. So last season, obviously, all three teams that had been promoted had got relegated. I haven't actually put that this time, but the two of the newly promoted teams, Ipswich and Southampton, I think that you're going down. I put Southampton above Ipswich because they've got more Premier League experience. I think they'll get 5 or 6 more points maybe than Ipswich, just because they'll get the points they need in the games against your Evertons, your Brentfords, especially games at home. But they've lost Shea Adams, and it's going to be a very tough job to stay up. Shea Adams going to Torino. He was one of their better players, a player that has got a lot of Premier League experience as well at Southampton. Premier League experience does help. I'm speaking a lot about this with Ipswich. It does help. We saw it with Luton last season. Luton played probably some of the best football of the teams that went down. The reason they went down is they just weren't used to it. They weren't used to the intensity of the Premier League. And though they did have some really good battles at home, like against your Liverpools and your Arsenals, there were some really good games. They just didn't have the experience to get them past the line that they needed to win those games and to stay up, really. 18th, this is one of the teams that I've seen a lot of people predict. Nottingham Forest, I've gone in 18th place. They've got a really good signing of Elliot Anderson. I think he will shine for them this season. But they have been flirting with relegation the last couple of seasons, and I've put them there because they've had, apart from that signing, really, it's not been a transfer window that gets me really thinking that they're going to stay up or do better than they have last season, especially because teams around them have got stronger. Teams around them are looking very good. Some teams finished the season really strong. So Nottingham Forest, I do think that you're going down this season. It's been coming, and I think this will be the season that does it. I think they'll put up a fight because in 17th, I've gone with newly promoted Leicester City. I think they'll just stay up because they absolutely smashed the Championship last season. That was one of the best performances of a Championship season that I've seen. Absolutely smashed it in the Championship. But a couple of things. They've lost their best midfielder, Dewsbury Hall, but I don't think that's going to affect them as much as maybe some people are saying, because they've got the instinct to stay up, and I think they will. They've still got Jamie Vardy, who's going to turn 38 next year, but him in the changing room will helped with Noble being in the changing room for West Ham, for us. But Leicester City, I've put 17th. I think they'll just stay up. In 16th, I have gone with Everton. Now, I predicted them stupidly to get relegated, and without their points deduction, they would have been 12th last season. I don't want to risk it again, and I think Everton are on the up, and with Sean Dyche ball will definitely keep them up this season. They might start a little bit wary. They might have to get into the swing of things. But with how they did last season, I know the points deduction didn't help, but they managed to stay up with that, play some really good football, and beat some of the big teams as well, and put up some really good performances. And it would have been funny to have them play in their new stadium in the Championship, but let's be fair, it's not going to happen this season. In 15th, I've gone with Brentford. Now, they were 16th last season, but they've not done much business in the transfer window. But I don't think that really matters for Brentford. Brentford are a team, they're a well-run team, and their team just gels together already. So, and they've kept Ivan Toney, which I think is a must for them this window. I'm actually really surprised they hadn't lost Ivan Toney, but because they've kept him, he's an amazing player in big moments. He can score tons of goals, brilliant at the Euros. He's going to shine for them this season, I think. And I think they won't worry about relegation that much because they've kept him. So I've gone with a solid 15th place. That's +1 from 16th last season. I think they're just going to hover around that sort of bit throughout the season. 14th, I've gone with Bournemouth. They brought in Sinistera from Leeds, which I think is a really good signing for them. And it's a team it's hard to call. With Bournemouth, sometimes they can be on that relegation battle, sometimes they can be in the relegation places, sometimes they can be up there in the top half. So I'm going 14th, a solid 14th, and they have some very strong performances at home. I think they will do next season, and I think they'll just have a comfortable season without worrying about relegation. They get some of the new players time to gel, and I think Bournemouth are going to have a solid, comfortable season. They could put up some good performances against the bigger teams. 13th, I've gone with Fulham. They've got the joint oldest squad in the league. The oldest is actually West Ham, and they signed Smith Rowe, which was a massive signing for them. I think he's going to do really well, but they have lost João Felinha, who was an amazing player last season for them and the season before. So that's a big loss. Smith Rowe could fill in very well though, and Fulham are just sort of a fairly consistent team. They're a comfortable mid-table team that they've become from when they came up. They were just a yo-yo team. They had that really good season under Marco Silva, and then now are just comfortably in that mid-table spot, and I think we'll stay there. So I've gone with a pretty safe 13th position. In 12th, I've gone with Wolves. So they've not had amazing business in this transfer window. They have lost their best defender in Kilman, but over 38 games, I think they'll be classic Wolves and a classic mid-table team where they get the points where they need to. Sometimes give the bit like they have this last season. Sometimes they'll give the big boys a run for their money. They'll get the points where they need to. They'll sit a comfortable 12th. They'll just be one of those mid-table teams during the season. They could give some big performances and give some good watches, but Wolves are going 12th. 11th, I've gone with Brighton, a team that achieved some really good things 2 seasons ago. They sort of got left in a mess by De Zerbi, but they've still got the quality. They dropped off after that season where they achieved Europa League, and then I think they're just going to drop off a bit more back to that mid-table Brighton. They've still got the quality. They've not got De Zerbi. I don't think they'll challenge for Europe, but I think they'll just comfortably sit in mid-table. Now in 10th position is Newcastle. Tonali is back. That could be big for them. That could be big. The squad is already good enough. Eddie Howe was sort of linked with the England job quite a bit, which could have affected their pre-season, whether he's going to actually stay. But they've got a very good squad already. They've kept all their key players. They're contention for top 4 because all the teams around them have got stronger, and although Newcastle have had some really good transfer windows, they're just getting overtaken by these other teams. Their top 4 contention has sort of just fizzled out, and I think they'll just sit solid mid-table 10th. Now we're coming up to the top half, and 9th, I've gone with Aston Villa. And they've brought in Onana from Everton. He's a top player for Everton. Really stood out last season for them. They've lost Diaby though and Douglas Luiz, and I've put them here because they got Champions League next season. You're probably saying, what are you on about? They got Champions League last season, but there's a history of Newcastle, Brighton. They've achieved great things, and then the next season they always drop off. I think that's going to happen to Aston Villa, so I've put them 9th. I think that they could do some really good stuff for this Champions League. I'm really excited to watching them in the Champions League, but lost a couple of key players. I know they've got Onana, but losing them is going to hit them hard, I think. And because of the history of these clubs achieving great things and dropping off, I've put Villa 9. Now in 8th, I've gone with, and you're probably thinking, hold on, where is Crystal Palace? Crystal Palace I've put 8th, and I'm not a end of season performances merchant, but they did have a great end to last season. You cannot deny it. It's probably one of the best finishes to a season. Crystal Palace were amazing, but they've lost Elise. They've kept Eze, which I could have dropped them to like 10th, 11th, 12th maybe, but they've kept Eze, who was a key player, for maybe just one more year. I think this is going to be their season. These are my dark horses. Crystal Palace ended really strong. They've still got their quality, and they can battle with the big boys. They can do it. I've put them 8th, and I think they'll just miss out on Europe places, but they're not a team ready for Europe at the moment, I don't think. In 7th, I've gone with Spurs. Now, I do think that Spurs only really need to keep their key players, and they have, basically. And they got Europa League to worry about this season. They've not done enough in the transfer window, and I don't think they're top 6 material yet. In 6th, but I am biased because I am literally wearing the shirt, I've gone with West Ham. Now, hear me out. We have had maybe the best transfer window this season in the Premier League. There's a new spark with Lopetegui. Lopetegui in the transfer window, he's been brilliant with it. I don't know how we've managed to get some of the players. We've got Kilman from Wolves. He's going to be an absolute gem at the back. Fulkrug in attack. We needed a out-and-out striker. That's what we got. We got Somerville from Leeds, who's going to bring even more flair than we already have with Kudus and Paqueta. How have we kept them as well, by the way? So maybe the best transfer window this Premier League. I've got massive hope for this season. We don't have any Europe. We can focus on the Premier League. I think it won't be as hard to beat the bottom half teams as it was last season with this new team and this new manager. And most of all, what all the fans were hoping for is a manager that would come in and bring attacking football, and that's exactly what Lopetegui is going to do, and it's going to fit our players so well. And I think because of that, we're going to finish 6th. In 5th place, I've gone with Liverpool. Now, they would have been top 4 for me, but they've had a really dry and pretty crap transfer window. Liverpool always really do, and they maybe bring in a couple of key players. Last season, they had a very good transfer window, but they literally haven't brought in anyone. So they've still got a brilliant forward line, and I think Arne Slot's attacking football would be very good for them with that forward line, and with the players they've got, they can score a lot of goals. And it may take like this season and next season for Liverpool to really maybe challenge for the league title. With Arne Slot, it's going to be completely different for Liverpool without Klopp there. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they can do. But they're Liverpool, they're always going to finish top 6 or top 5. They could go far in the Champions League, but I think this season this is going to be where they're going to have to start to gel with Slot, and they're going to finish 5th, and they might go far in the Champions League, who knows. In 4th, probably my most controversial one, I've gone with Chelsea. Now, they ended the season really well. Cole Palmer is on form. He had a brilliant Euros, and they have got the biggest squad in the league. But I think if they can find a key 11 that they can have on every week and just be solid with that, then I think they could definitely finish 4th. I think it's going to be a very good race for top 4 between like your your Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool. This season could either go really well or really badly for Chelsea, and I think it's going to go really well, and they might just beat Liverpool for top 4. In third is Manchester United. Now, I'm not going as far as doing what I did last season and saying that they... Did I say they'd win the league? No, I think I said they'd come second. But they've got a new board. They've got a couple of good signings. They've got Yora and Xerxes. I think they'll gel really well into the squad with your younger players like Holland and like Garnacho, who's very good in the Community Shield game, by the way. They are getting good young players. Ten Hag's new sort of strategy, I think, will work this season. And I think there's definitely a team there to go and fight for top 4. Now, second is Man City. I'm kidding, it's Arsenal. It's the last year of Arteta's contract. It's too much of a push to go and win the league. They've got Calafiori, but that's really like one of their only big signings. He could, though, be Premier League signing of the season. I'm hyping him up a lot, but I really think he could be. I think they've still got the quality from last season, so I still think it'll be sort of the same. I've gone with Arsenal in a solid second, just like they had last season and the season before. But I think they'll still be fairly happy with it. And then obviously first, just to get my prediction right, I've gone with Manchester City. I think the only thing that will stop them winning the league this season is their breaches. Could be a points deduction. So they could either come first or 20th, really. They could either get all like 115 breaches, and get all the points deducted for them. But I don't think it's going to happen this season. And I think they're just going to comfortably win the league again. What's it going to be? He's at 5 in a row. Kevin De Bruyne almost left, but I think they're going to win it because they've kept him. And Foden is getting better and better. Foden is going to be a very good player next season. Could be maybe player of the season. Who knows? Maybe. One of the biggest things is they've still got Rodri. And if Man City have Rodri, you're hardly ever going to beat them. And I think that's what's going to really help them win the league. Now, what do you think of my predictions? Tell me in the comments, and maybe get your predictions in the comments. But anyways, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.